Today's lesson is about markup and discount. So first we have to understand what markup is. Markup is the amount a retailer adds to their price, which is called the wholesale price, in order for them to make a profit. We have a proportion here that's going to help us decide how to calculate markup. So notice we have the amount of the markup here over what the store buys the product for, or called the wholesale price. And the percent always lives over 100. Let's try one of these. First, I noticed that I have a typo right there. It should say a 64 gigabyte iPad in an Apple store has a 103% markup. The wholesale price of the iPad is $342.36. How much did the iPad sell for at the Apple store? Well, I'm going to start putting things into my proportion. Notice the 100's already placed because that's where it lives all the time. Here we have our percent, and remember we're going to put that over 100, but we're not going to use the percent sign. And then it says the wholesale price. Now remember, that's what the store is going to pay for that product, just to get it into their inventory. So their wholesale price, it goes down here. And we don't know how much they're going to mark it up. So if we go ahead and use our proportion rules, we know that we're going to multiply those two numbers. So take $342.36 times 103, and you're going to divide by this 100. So the markup, I'm going to use MU. The markup is $352.63 if we round that to the nearest penny. But that's not what the question's asking. That question is asking how much did the Apple store sell it for? So let's think about this. They had to pay $342.36 just to get the iPad into their store for inventory. They're going to add $352.63 in markup. So when that iPad goes on the shelf, they're going to have a price tag of $694.99, and that is the selling price. This one is very similar to the one we just did. So I want you to see if you can place the numbers and solve the proportion to find the markup, and then answer the question, how much will the customer pay for the oil change? So when you're ready to check, you're going to come back to me, but right now I want you to pause and work the problem out. All right, so it says right here that it costs $16. That's the wholesale price for the company to buy the supplies they need to give you an oil change, oil filter, oil, whatnot. And it says they're going to mark it up by 70%. So I'm going to solve my proportion. I'm going to take 16 times 70, and then I'm going to divide by 100. And it looks like the markup is $11.20. So let's think through the selling price. If it costs the company $16 for materials and labor, they're going to add to that their markup. It looks like the customer is going to get charged $27.20. This one's a bit different because I have different information and I'm asked for something different. So it says the wholesale price of a textbook is $25. Well, I know where the wholesale price lives, and that's right there. But then it says the bookstore goes ahead and sells it for $65.75, and that I don't know the percent of markup. So, I don't know this number, but I bet I can figure it out. The numerator is how much the book had been marked up. So that just means we have to do one extra calculation. We know the bookstore sold it for $65.75, and we know it cost them $25. I think if we subtract those two, we'll figure out how much the store marked up the book. And so they marked up the book $40.75. And now that I have all my information, I can multiply. So pick up your calculator, take 40.75 and multiply that by 100, divide by 25, and it looks like our percent markup is a whopping 163%. That is quite a markup. Let's switch gears and calculate discount instead. Discount is the amount a retailer marks an item down in order to sell it to make room for an inventory. It's a sale, and everybody loves a sale. Here's the proportion we're going to use. So we're going to put the amount of discount here over the original selling price. And then, of course, we always have our percent over 100 in fraction form. All right, this is the problem on the handout that I gave you for your interactive math notebook. It says a leather jacket originally sold for $185. I know that's going to be important. That's the original price. And I also know that it's on sale for 30% off, and I want to know what is the discount. So the percent always belongs over 100, so the 30 goes there. And the original price is my denominator, and I don't know the discount. So go ahead and pick up your calculator and take 185 times 30 divided by 100. And it looks like we're going to save $55.50. All right, so that's our discount. And then we had a second question here. What is the selling price? So the way that sales work are that you're going to take $185. The cashier is going to take off $55.50 of it. So pick up your calculator and take 185, subtract off $55.50, and the selling price of that leather jacket is $129.50. So we actually had two questions here. The discount was $55.50, and the selling price was $129.50. All right, it's going to be really important on these problems that you're able to read closely and carefully and understand where things need to be placed. It's sort of like a puzzle. If you place things in the right spot, things will come out great. But if you put things in the wrong spot, you're probably going to get the wrong answer. So this one says a sports watch is on sale for $60.20 after a 30% discount. What was the original price? Now, generally, we've been working with this is the amount of discount over this is the original selling price, and this is the percent. This one doesn't really fit that very well, so we might have to go back to our original thoughts on proportions, where this is the part and this is the total. And that's going to help us on this problem, because I know that the part I'm going to pay only part of the original price. I'm going to pay $60.20. But that's not the only tricky part here. This is how much I saved, and this is how much I paid, and those are not going to line up very well. So if this is how much I paid, then I didn't pay 30% of the price. I paid 70% of the price. So you have to make sure that things are parallel or they are lined up, the same type of thing. So I paid $60.20, which was 70% of the original price. And I got that 70 because I took the 100%, took away the part I saved, and that left me with the part I paid. All right, and then an X goes here, and from there we're good to go. You're going to pick up your calculator and take $60.20 times 100. You're going to divide by your 70, and the original price is $86. That was a super tricky problem. All right, again, we have to be a good thinker on this one. It says a bracelet usually sells for $23. So I know that that's the original price, and original price always goes down here. But I paid $13.80. And remember, this is the amount of our discount. So if it originally was $23 and I paid $13.80 of it, that means that if you pick up your calculator, you saved $9.20. So what you saved is going to go up there, and I don't know the percent discount. So again, this took an extra step to help us figure out our problem. So we're going to take $9.20, that's a decimal right there, times 100, and whatever we get, we're going to divide by 23, and it looks like that is a 40% discount.